It's my pleasure to discuss the organization I'm on the board of, AboutFace. It's something that's intimately important to me, as you'll find out soon. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have, so let's get started. So first, quickly about me. My name is Alim Somji. I've been on the board of AboutFace since 2019. I do have a facial difference as a client per se. I have a lymphatic malformation that I've had from birth. I live in Edmonton, in which, if you can tell from my fall colors, it's already wintertime. So, I first got involved in AboutFace, at around birth. AboutFace existed. It started about the same time that I was born, and was really meant, it was started by somebody with a facial difference, and it was meant to provide parents and clients with generally basic information about what it meant to have a facial difference and what options were available. And over the past many years, it's grown from there to kind of the point where we're at now. So the mission for the organization, as you can see, is to promote and enhance the emotional and mental well-being of individuals with facial differences and their families. And so for us, a client is not just the individual with a facial difference. Generally speaking, for the most part, we hope that people have a support network, and generally speaking, those that are around others with facial differences, we have a lot of people that support us, that advocate for us and work with us. So we generally target everything we do to not just the clients, but their families, specifically parents and siblings, as really anybody that's going to be interacting with individuals or talking to others about individuals, or, to be honest, making medical decisions for other individuals. It's important, we feel, that they have all the information that they need in order to best support the individuals in their lives with the facial difference. The vision of the organization is currently under construction, but as it stands right now, it's to inspire people with facial differences to find the confidence and the courage they need to live life to the fullest. I say it's under construction because the vision over time has evolved with AboutFace. For a long time, it was meant to help people with facial differences be comfortable in society, whereas the vision has really evolved into helping people with facial differences and helping society better understand those with facial differences, and to promote equity of people with facial differences when it comes to finding work, or to receiving medical advice, or seeking solutions to the large variety of problems that those with facial differences have, as I'm sure many people watching understand. And so the vision has really evolved to be a place that is promoting equity and is advocating for the equity of people with facial differences and others. To make our mission and vision work, we work on three core values: empowerment, encouragement, and education. I highlight the last one specifically, education, as that's a large part of the work that we do. Education is extremely important to us. There's a large variety. It's a very broad bucket of facial differences. There's a lot of different things that go into it. There's a lot of comorbidities. There's a lot of there's a variety of different medical and physical issues that can arise from being facially different. And so, it's important for us to kind of bring the full breadth of the experiences and the conditions that our members have, and how they're different, how they're the same, and how best to support those individuals. So I know I went over the history briefly, but I can touch on it again. Elizabeth Baugh was the creator of AboutFace, and we're a national organization, and we work with those of facial differences of all types. And so, we categorize facial differences as anyone whose appearance from the neck and above has been affected by a congenital, acquired, or episodic condition or syndrome. And so what's important here, and certainly important in my mind, is that a facial difference doesn't necessarily have to be something that somebody was born with. There's a number of different ways somebody can acquire a facial difference. And the implication of all those different things needs to be treated somewhat differently. But that said, the support and the assistance that we provide is meant to touch all of those people and address the many of the common issues that those with facial differences encounter, and to be honest, that a lot of people who are different encounter. I know I was chatting just before the presentation began. This is a little bit different for me, presenting to an organization like ConnecTogether. It's fantastic for me. It's generally speaking, when we're talking about issues that have to do with facial differences, I find we spend a lot of time explaining why it's difficult to be different, and to the greater extent and the beauty of organizations like ours and yours and those that many people watching perhaps are a part of, is that there's an understanding of what it means to be different. There's a shared experience that we all have, and many of the difficulties, and I guess specifically the mental and emotional difficulties that many of us have, is shared. Is shared between between all of us. So it's always a positive for me to be speaking to those that have an understanding in a lot of ways of some of the things that we go through. I have here, and I won't spend too much time on this. These are a number of facial differences that we work with, and this list is hundreds of conditions long. What I would say, like I'd mentioned previously, it's really the three major buckets that we kind of split things into: an acquired facial difference, one that occurred after birth; a congenital facial difference, one that is present at birth, like my own; and an episodic difference, differences that kind of come and go and can arise and disappear, and the difficulties that come along with that, and treating things that are episodic and tend to recur. One of the reasons, I guess kind of the crux of the reason that AboutFace exists, is really based on those with facial differences existing in almost a parallel structure with many other types of differences. We work to educate those on what a facial difference is, and to work with diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it's not always very simple. Those with facial differences, may not have other comorbidities that, say, on a survey or in a census that we would report. I think one of the things that we've found over the years is that those with facial differences tend to underreport the things that affect them and the difficulties that they have, and that's something we want to change. We do have statistics here quickly. I'll speak to them very quickly. 29% of adults reported being underemployed or unemployed. I would say that's probably an underestimate, given, again, that those with facial differences tend but not really to make the association between the facial difference and the difficulty to finding work. There are self-esteem issues that a number of us face, myself included, over times, and so that number likely not entirely accurate, but gives a good representation of kind of the prevailing difficulty that those with facial differences have, especially in interview situations. 84% of adults and 68% of parents reported a general lack of understanding about facial differences by the public. And this is something that we commonly hear from clients and commonly hear from parents. When parents have a child with a facial difference, it can be extremely difficult to find resources and to find detail on the type of facial difference that their child has, what the options are in terms of treatment, if there are options for treatment, what the challenges and the risks to that might be. There's not a lot of research done for a lot of facial differences. It's not necessarily an extremely common occurrence, but it is certainly an under-researched one, we find. And one of AboutFace's big tasks is to be a source of that information, or to be a connector of that information to parents that are seeking advice and that are seeking help and can't find it or don't have a good repository of information to lean on. Not unlike many other differences, adults and children are noted to have considerable mental health concerns, including isolation, loneliness, stress, and anxiety. I think that's probably not surprising, especially in a time of COVID. I know a lot of us have a bit of a window into those feelings of isolation. I would say the single largest thing that AboutFace works with right now is discussions of mental health and mental health concerns due to the social stresses of being different and the social stresses, in all honesty, of being visibly different. As you can probably imagine, in a time of Zoom and video conferencing, the one thing that people see is your face. And for a lot of people with facial differences, it's the one thing that they have the most difficulty either accepting about themselves or being comfortable showing to other people. So, it's definitely growing, and it's important to us. It's something we spend a lot of time discussing and working on, and have a number of different programs and strategies to tackling that, which is some of the most important work that we do. What might be unique for facial differences, and certainly in how we report, is mistreatment due to staring and inappropriate questions. And I know a lot of different groups of people face this. In many ways, people say the face is the window to the soul, and a lot of people tend to stare and ask questions. And for a lot of people with facial differences, it's an uncomfortable commonality, an uncomfortable regular occurrence that happens. And especially for families, it can be difficult to understand, or difficult to know how to react or be comfortable with how to react. More than anything, there may not be a right way to address questions, but the questions will be asked, and it's something that we spend time on. It's something that we hope our clients become more comfortable with, and so, given that it's something we encounter a fair bit, it tends to be top of mind. And the last thing, which is, I would say, fairly specific to those with facial differences, is there are ongoing concerns around access to dental care and treatment. Now, we know in Canada, dental treatment and dental care is not always covered, and those with facial differences have dental complications in many in many occurrences that are incredibly complex and that have a long-term, medical and quality of life implications that, accessing help, filling out forms, applying for coverage can tend to be very difficult. And so it's always top of mind for us. We have a few dentists and orthodontists on our board. So there's always a bit of a conduit to that world. And given that many dentists and physicians don't necessarily encounter people with facial differences very often, so there's certainly an educational aim to assist those physicians, those medical practitioners that wouldn't necessarily see facial differences very often, and helping provide them the information to utilize their experience and to better equip them to work with members of the facial difference community. I will talk about the importance of language quickly, and I know facial difference is an unusual term, I suppose. It has been adopted to avoid stigmatization and mistreatment, but also to attempt to break away from negative stereotypes of all people that are different. And it's one of those things that we're happy that the discussion is being had for people with all sorts of differences. Disfigurement, abnormality, and imperfection are negative words, and being different is a reality for many people. And so, as we are the way that we are, the importance is working towards acceptance and trying to better understand the conditions that we have and what makes us different. We strongly encourage and hope you all and those can adopt the term facial difference to describe people like us, because realistically speaking, we know that everybody's different, but we are very well aware that the stereotype of those with facial differences, if we look at our mass media and our movies and films, tends to be imperfect. The Lion King has Scar. Every James Bond villain that I can recall has a facial difference. And, the media community tends to use facial differences as kind of a storytelling shorthand to denote trauma and unhappiness and villainy, and that is certainly not the case for the wide majority of us. So we like the term facial difference. It reflects the fact that there is something different with us, but that it's not a negative, and it has its own things that go with it. Our programs are really, they cover a wide variety of things. Our child and youth programs, we do a number of virtual programs during the COVID era. It's a lot harder to do camps, but we have a number of virtual programs, youth councils, scholarships that we offer in order to help youth that have a facial difference and that have gone through childhood and are working to better understand and comprehend their facial difference, be better to articulate the facial difference. And we see a number of truly inspiring children that come through these programs and apply for our scholarships that certainly make me feel guilty, but that are truly inspirational and that really are taking the next step to better explain and better articulate what it means to have a facial difference and the implications and the trials and tribulations that go along with it, but recognizing the accomplishments and the progress that they've made as well. Obviously, there are many adults with facial differences. We have an adult retreat. I would say probably the largest, the busiest of our adult programs is our adult networking calls. It's as I'm sure many people found, it's one thing to be sympathetic to somebody else's concern, but it's a very different thing to have shared context and shared experience. So we've found that adults are, as if you're detached from other members of the community, you tend to feel isolated and struggling to find individuals that understand what you're going through. And we've had significant success and truly groundbreaking success with bringing people together to discuss issues that the person on the other end of the line has a deep knowledge of, has that lived experience, and can really help one another navigate that experience and then difficulties they may be having. From a family perspective, this is how I got involved with AboutFace many years ago. My parents used to receive the AboutFace newsletter, which was a paper newsletter that I know people no longer use paper anymore, but at one time it was a thing. The resources that families are provided, in many ways are to help understand not necessarily how to parent their kids, but how to discuss issues with facial differences, how to discuss bullying, how to discuss the types of things that their children will inevitably, sadly encounter in society, and how best to respond to that, and how to kind of guide their children and give the best possible support, the best possible base for their kids to succeed. And lastly, our advocacy campaigns, which I know our major one is featured next. Our advocacy campaigns, given that social media is now a lot broader and more common, it's not surprising that our advocacy has kind of gone in that direction as well. We worked in a number of different ways to get our message out there on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those fun things. And it's changed things for us. The goal for us is to get facial differences out into the open and into discussion, so that more people have a better chance of understanding. Now, I'm going to try this video. My apologies if it doesn't play. Can you hear it?
No, what I think we have to do is we have to share your audio. So if you stop sharing and then just share your audio. There you go.
People are afraid of the unknown. It's not something to be afraid of. It's just something that I was born with.
When people stare, it's a total confidence killer. I use humor a lot. It's just kind of my way of extending an olive branch of, it's okay. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I'm an open book about it.
A stare could be considered a way of objectifying a person. You become othered. You feel as if you're othered. You feel like you're not part of the crowd. You're singled out. I really wish that they would just come up to me and ask the question.
At the end of every soccer game, they do good game, good game, good game. And we always noticed that all the kids would kind of circle back and just start staring at Zoe. So she would either just stare them down or say, no, don't do that. So she really advocates for herself. She is this little girl who's just like everyone else.
When I was younger, I didn't smile that much because I was kind of concerned on what people would think. Why do you look this weird? Did you get in a car accident and something happened that you look like that?
We live in a world that's very visual. There are some harsh people in this world. I'm not contagious.
We place so much value on appearance. It's very hard to believe that someone's going to give me a chance with even a conversation if they're going to look at a face and swipe it away instantly.
The danger in stopping at the surface is that there's a lot more to me.
I'm a pretty funny guy. I tell lots of jokes.
Zoe is confident, she's charismatic, and she is joyful.
I'm generous, I'm caring, and I'm smart.
I'm more than my difference.
Even though I am happy with who I am as a person, and I've recognized that my facial difference is a part of me, the key point for me is that it is a part of me, and it is a part of my identity. It is not the entirety of me as a person.
You have to look beyond what you see.
I've accepted it. Why can't you?
Visit AboutFace.ca and learn how to see beyond my face.
Perfect. Given that, I probably could have put that whole presentation into that video and saved everybody 25 minutes, but that's some of the advocacy we've been doing. There are other videos. I believe this is the first one. There are adorable children in the second ones, and you can find that on the website at aboutface.ca. And so, really, from an advocacy perspective, these are the kinds of things that we're working towards, and these are the kind of things that our members encounter. And I guess at its simplest level, this is what the organization is working towards. So, how can people get involved? First, the easy ones, volunteer. We have opportunities year-round. We have virtual programs and other in-person events. Specifically related to, I know many of you, the two of you are in the Lower Mainland. On September 17th, both the Science World and the Sales in downtown Vancouver will be red, yellow, and blue for Craniofacial Awareness Month. Please take lots of pictures and share with your friends and family. We have a number of fundraisers for AboutFace, a number of different campaigns that we do, many of which are in September. And so we would love for everybody to check us out at aboutface.ca, share our resources. One of the most difficult things for us and for a lot of organizations is simply to get in touch with those that are affected by facial differences and by the conditions that we help support. Thankfully, there is no register for people with facial differences, but there are, if nothing else, we hope to remind people that there are others that have facial differences, and we want to hear from them, and we want them to hear from us. And lastly, but not least, speak up when you see mistreatment. And I think I know I speak for many people with facial differences. If you encounter one of us, say hello. Many will feel free. I would be much happier if you ask, but speak up against bullying. Advocate for your fellow human beings, and I think it's as simple as that. And I believe that is it. If you want to follow us on social media, our Instagram is at AboutFace Canada, our Facebook is at AboutFace Canada, and our Twitter is at AboutFace. We look forward to interacting with many of you. I really thank you so much for your time. We're happy to answer any questions anybody has, but again, we truly, truly appreciate it. And thank you very much for inviting us in.
Christina, do you have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Alum.